Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
Story 1. I take my dog to Oakwood Dog Park regularly. My pup is a rescue with lots of energy who needs a good run every day or he'll tear up my apartment. One Saturday was perfect for letting my dog burn off some energy. We got there around 10 a.m. when many regulars are there. Most of us know each other's dogs. My dog was chasing a ball when I noticed something odd. A woman came in carrying a small child. No dog anywhere, just her and a toddler, about 2 years old. A dog park isn't safe for toddlers. Dogs run fast, play rough, and act like dogs. The entrance sign clearly says, "For dogs and their owners only, and enter at your own risk." I watched her put her child down inside the fence. The toddler started walking toward dogs playing fetch. I asked her if her dog was somewhere else in the park. She barely looked at me before saying they didn't have a dog. She thought this would be fun for her son to see puppies. I told her this was a dog park, not a petting zoo, and some dogs might not be comfortable around small children. She said it was fine because her son loved puppies. She looked at her phone while her toddler walked deeper into the park. A large retriever ran past, almost knocking the child over, but she didn't look up. Another dog owner near me raised her eyebrows. Several regulars were exchanging concerned looks. No one wanted to cause trouble, but this was dangerous. When a boxer mix started running around the toddler, making him chase the dog, I had to be more direct. I told her I was concerned about her child's safety. Dogs can get excited and might jump or nip at him. This wasn't a playground. She finally looked up from her phone. She said, "Maybe the dogs shouldn't be so aggressive." I explained they weren't aggressive, they were playing in their space. That's what this park is for. Dogs need places to run. She said it's a public park and her taxes pay for it too. Her child had walked over to dogs wrestling with each other. One German Shepherd mix I knew from before was playing roughly. I warned her that her child could get hurt if he gets between playing dogs. She asked if I was telling her how to parent and said her son was fine. Just then, her toddler grabbed the tail of the German Shepherd. The dog turned and barked loudly. The child fell and started crying. The woman picked up her crying child. She asked who owned the vicious animal that attacked her baby. The German Shepherd's owner came forward. He said his dog didn't attack anyone. Her child pulled his dog's tail and scared it. The woman said his dog shouldn't be here if it can't behave around children. I told her that her child shouldn't be here. This is a dog park. There's a children's playground across the street made for kids. She got angry and said I can't tell her where her child can go. Several dog owners gathered around looking worried. Another dog owner pointed out that the sign says this is an off-leash area for dogs, not made for children's safety. The woman said we were ganging up on a mother and child. She said dog people think pets are more important than humans. I said no one was saying that. This space was made for dogs to play off-leash. It's about having the right spaces for different activities. I showed her the park rules on my phone. They say not recommended for small children, and children under 12 should be watched closely. She said whatever, this place is dirty anyway. She told her child they would find somewhere better to play. As she left, she shouted she would report our dogs to animal control and call the city about the park. After she left, everyone relaxed. The regular dog owners talked about what happened, and one said she was on the neighborhood board. Another dog owner said this happens every few months when someone new thinks it's a petting zoo. They would make sure to get bigger signs. The next week, I saw 3 new signs at the entrance, including one with red letters saying, "Warning, this is not a children's play area." This story didn't happen to me but to a friend who lives in a state with stand-your-ground laws. He gave me permission to share this, though I've changed some details since the case is still ongoing. My friend has been dating his girlfriend for about 2 years now. They're both in their mid-20s and have decent jobs. He works as an IT specialist while she's a teacher at a local elementary school. They've been saving up to move in together, which is why they were careful with their spending lately. Last weekend, they were out shopping for various things, groceries, some kitchen utensils for his apartment, and clothes. The last stop on their shopping trip was a department store where they wanted to pick up some clothes for themselves and a birthday gift for his girlfriend's niece who was turning 2 years old in a couple of days. After finding what they needed, a few shirts and jeans for themselves, and a cute little dress for the niece, they were heading to the checkout when they heard someone shout from behind them. A woman was loudly calling my friend's girlfriend a filthy witch and saying she couldn't wear those kinds of clothes in public. They both stopped and turned around, confused about who was yelling and what was happening. They saw an overweight, middle-aged woman with that typical short, layered haircut. She was dragging along a young boy who looked about 8 years old, wearing clothes that seemed worn out and too big for him. The woman herself was wearing an expensive-looking dress that didn't suit her, lots of jewelry, and so much makeup it looked like it had been applied with a trowel. My friend told the woman not to use that word to describe his girlfriend. He added that she shouldn't use that kind of language around her child and pointed out that what his girlfriend chose to wear was her decision alone. He asked her to leave them alone. The woman's face got mad. She said that she was an old woman and their elder, insisting that they had to listen to her. My friend's girlfriend tried to defuse the situation. She said they might have listened to her if she had talked to them nicely instead of yelling like a banshee on crack. This comment made the woman more angry. She went on about being their superior because of her age, saying they were less disciplined than her and needed to listen. She said her baby shouldn't have to see a trashy woman in such clothes and that they would taint his mind. By this point, both my friend and his girlfriend were getting angry, but they decided it wasn't worth arguing with this woman. They turned around and walked away, heading toward the checkout. Behind them, they could hear the woman still talking. She was calling my friend's girlfriend a bad influence and said they would both be sent to hell one way or another. That last comment put my friend on edge. He's cautious, which is why he has a concealed carry permit. After paying for their items, they left the store, both of them feeling like their day had been ruined by this weird encounter. When they were walking through the parking lot toward my friend's car, they heard that same woman's voice again. She was telling her child to get in the car because she had some problems to deal with. They rolled their eyes and kept walking, but then they heard something that made them stop. The woman shouted that she would cut those clothes off them herself, calling them filthy people. My friend turned around and saw the woman coming toward them with a knife in her hand, the blade out. She was still yelling as she walked. My friend told his girlfriend to call the police. His girlfriend ducked behind a car and dialed 911 while my friend faced the woman. My friend yelled at her to stop and not come closer with the knife. The woman kept coming. He told her to stop and put away the knife, saying nobody had to get hurt. When she kept walking toward them, my friend reached for his concealed firearm and drew it from his waistband. He didn't point it at her but held it ready. He told her to just walk away, saying he didn't want to use his gun. He told her not to make him pull the trigger and reminded her that her kid didn't need to lose his mother that day. The woman stopped when she saw the gun. She said he would get arrested for drawing a dangerous weapon on a law-abiding person who was just teaching them a lesson. Then she turned and hurried away. His girlfriend came out from behind the car and handed him her phone. The 911 operator was still on the line, so my friend told them what had happened, saying that he was a legal concealed carrier who had just drawn his weapon to defend himself. Following what the operator told him to do, he said where they were and what cars were nearby, then placed his gun on the trunk of his car before both of them stepped away from it. When the police came, they put my friend in the back of a police car while they figured things out. He wasn't handcuffed or arrested. It's just what they do in cases like this. Both my friend and his girlfriend told their stories and showed the security cameras in the parking lot that would have recorded what happened. The police took my friend's gun, which is normal in cases like this, and asked them both to come to the station to make statements. They went to the station right after. One of the officers told my friend later that he did the right thing by not shooting when he didn't have to. He hasn't gotten his gun back yet and probably won't until the case is over. But as he told me, losing his gun for a while is better than having to kill someone over clothes. The woman was arrested after the security footage showed her walking up to them with a knife for no reason other than not minding her own business. My friend found out she's facing charges for assault and making threats. Her son was put with relatives while the courts figure out what to do about her taking care of him. This past winter, I was studying for my ship's officer exams at the local library for about 6 weeks. I went there to avoid distractions like video games and to stay focused. The spot I chose was in the back, overlooking a small park with a river. It had a nice view. There was a group of nerdy guys who hung out in this section all day. I made casual friends with them over time. We'd nod to each other and sometimes chat during breaks. A local contractor came by once or twice daily and made business calls in our area. He would answer his phone by loudly announcing his construction company name. Other times, he'd shout greetings to clients, telling them who he was and asking what they needed. His voice would boom through the quiet area and break my concentration. Whenever I'd finally understand a complex concept about maritime law or navigation, his phone would ring and ruin my focus. At first, I asked if he could keep his voice down because I was studying for important exams. He said he would quiet down. He'd stay quiet for one call, then get louder again. After a few days, when I asked if he could take his calls in the lobby, since this was a quiet area, he told me to go back to my books and said he was trying to run a business. I tried getting the librarians to help, but that didn't work either. They'd ask him to quiet down, and he would until they left. Then he'd go back to being loud. When I asked the regulars about it, one guy told me the contractor had been doing this forever and they were used to it. I couldn't ignore it. These exams would decide my future, and this guy made it impossible to study. After trying to be reasonable with no results, I tried something new. I set up my laptop to record our talks. For a week, I asked him to keep it down, and for a week, he ignored me. He would tell me he didn't have time for me. When I asked him to speak more quietly or go outside because we were in a library, he would tell me this was where he worked, and I should deal with it or move. After collecting enough video, I edited a 3-4 minute clip showing my polite requests and his rude answers. Then I posted it to 6 Facebook groups about our town, making it public so people could share it. The video got popular fast. Hundreds of comments, dozens of shares, and soon everyone in our town of about 45,000 people knew about the contractor who thought the library was his office. Someone tagged his wife in the comments, others shared it to his company's Facebook page. Those posts were quickly deleted. The best part was when someone recognized him as the same guy who'd been kicked out of the local Dunkin' Donuts for similar behavior. One Facebook group called Jerks of Our Town even made him their profile picture. I told the library regulars what I'd done and suggested they have their phones ready if he came back. They were happy about it. They put up with this guy for months, but never stood up to him. 4 days later, he returned. When he walked in, I held up my phone and so did several others. His face turned red when he saw he was being recorded by multiple people. He started complaining that I had hurt his business. He kept saying he was just trying to work and needed the place to do it. His voice was upset as he tried to defend himself. I told him that I thought he owed all of us an apology. He looked around at everyone watching him, all with phones raised, and gave in. He mumbled that he was sorry. I thanked him. He turned and walked away. After about 30 feet, he looked back, saw I wasn't recording anymore, and gave me the middle finger. But he never came back to the library. I passed all my ship's officer exams. Some just barely, but I passed. Those 6 weeks of studying worked despite the problems. My house is a modest 2-bedroom with a simple driveway that fits 2 cars. I work from home most days, so I don't use my driveway during work hours. But that doesn't mean anyone can use it. This situation started 2 weeks ago on a Thursday evening. I had gone grocery shopping after work and pulled up to my house around 6 p.m. only to find a massive black SUV parked in the middle of my driveway. I didn't recognize the vehicle at all. I parked on the street, carried my groceries to the front door, and waited around for about 20 minutes thinking maybe someone was just making a quick stop. When no one showed up, I decided to investigate. I knocked on my next-door neighbor's door first. I asked if they knew whose SUV was in my driveway. My neighbor said they had no idea but suggested I check with the new people who moved in down the block since they'd had visitors all week. I thanked him and made my way down the street, knocking on a few more doors until I reached the house 2 doors down where I could hear music and voices. A man answered. I told him I lived 2 houses up and there was an SUV parked in my driveway. I asked if it might belong to someone at his house. The man called over his shoulder and a woman holding a baby appeared behind him. She said it was her car and asked if there was a problem. I told her that yes, there was an issue because she was parked in my private driveway and I needed her to move her car so I could park. The woman then told me she had seen my empty driveway and since she had a baby, it was too much for her to walk from the street. She asked if I minded her parking there. I told her that I did mind because that was my private property, not public parking. I said I understood she had a baby, but explained she couldn't just claim someone else's driveway because it was convenient for her. She rolled her eyes while bouncing the baby on her hip and said, I wasn't even using the driveway. She mentioned her cousin had told her no one parks there during the day anyway. I told her that whether I used it or not wasn't important. It was still my driveway. I offered to help her carry her things to her car if dealing with the baby made it difficult. She said whatever and asked for a minute. She handed the baby to her cousin and walked past me. I followed her to make sure she actually moved her vehicle. As she backed out, she rolled down her window and said that a little kindness goes a long way, mentioning she was a single mother just trying to visit family. I said I was just a homeowner who wanted to use my own driveway and wished her a good evening. I went inside, put away my groceries, and watched some TV. About an hour later, I got up to refill my water and looked out the window, only to see the same black SUV parked in my driveway again. I grabbed my phone and called a local towing company I'd used once before when my car broke down. I told them I needed to have an unauthorized vehicle towed from my private property. Within 15 minutes, the tow truck arrived. I provided proof of residence, and they began hooking up the SUV. Just as they were preparing to lift it, the woman came running out of her cousin's house, screaming and asking what we were doing to her car. I told her I was having it towed because I had asked her not to park there. She yelled that I couldn't do that and claimed she had a baby in the car. I noticed the cousin standing in his doorway, holding the infant. I told her there was no baby in the car and that I could have an unauthorized vehicle towed from my property. She called me a horrible person and asked what if something happened to her baby while she was dealing with getting towed, or what if there was an emergency. I said maybe she shouldn't park on other people's property without permission. The tow truck driver told the woman that she would need to come to the impound lot to retrieve her vehicle. He told her the fee was $175 plus $50 per day of storage. The woman screamed that this was ridiculous and threatened to sue me. I asked her what grounds she had for suing me when I was simply enforcing property rights. By now, several neighbors had come outside to watch. The woman looked around and walked back to her cousin's house to grab her things. She left with her cousin, presumably, to go retrieve her SUV from the impound lot. The next morning, I found a note taped to my door demanding I pay the towing fee because I was abusing my privilege and making life difficult for struggling parents. I took it down and recycled it. I've installed a small security camera pointing at my driveway now, just in case she comes back. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.